are you? Hope you're well. So today I'm doing a very exciting video, actually. So a little bit ago, I was watching a YouTube video that happened to come at the same time I was trying to decide what book to read next. And that YouTube video was this one. Basically, she was asking Snapchat AI to pick between books for her or recommend certain genres or something. And it was very interesting to see and fun to see. And I'd been struggling picking between two books for a good day to 2 days at that point. So I thought to myself, you know what? Why not try that myself? And it could be a fun little reading challenge. So I ended up asking the Snapchat little AI bot which book I should pick. And before I show you the answer, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the choices that the little bot had. So the first choice would be Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross, and I'm going to read the back to you if you're curious to know what it's about. So to you if you're curious to know what it's about. Clementine Madigan understands that her future holds only one thing, taking over for her father as a magical territory warden. Every new moon, magic flows down from a nearby mountain into Asnor, bringing nightmares to life. Though she secretly yearns to study the wild side of magic, Clementine is resigned to a future of protecting her town from its citizens' worst nightmares. But when two magicians challenge her father for control of his territory, Clementine is forced to change her plans. Century-old secrets begin to rise when she seeks revenge on one of the brothers, and the magic of the new moon seems to be haunting her every turn. Clementine may need to team up with the handsome young magician she intended to sabotage to defeat the curse that shadows her land. And I never actually seen this book on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. I just happened to be browsing the bookstore one day and I saw it, and it gave me a lot of Sorcery of Thorn vibes, and I've just been wanting to read it ever since, and this was gifted to me a couple months ago. So this was option 1, and just so you know, I'm reading both of these. It's just which one I'm reading first that Snapchat is choosing. So whichever one wins will be in this video, but a reading vlog for the other one will come too. So if you're curious about either, there you go. And then the second book that was up for choices was House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I'd actually never really been interested in reading this one, but there was an Amazon sale where it's buy two get one, and this was on there, so it was basically like a free book. And I know it's very highly rated, so even though I'd never had any interest in reading it, I also was very curious to see why people loved it so much. And I did know at that point that it's a cozy fantasy, which I really enjoyed, so that is why I do own this. And then if you would like to know what it's about, I'm going to go ahead and read the back for you. Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the Department of Charge of Magical Youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment: travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they are likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at the strangest of islands, he's greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the gracious mystery of which Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovered the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn, or worse, his secret comes to light. And so I asked Snapchat which one of these two books I should read because I'd really wanted to pick up both. Dreams Lie Beneath I've just been wanting to read for nearly 6 months now, and then The House in the Cerulean Sea I was very curious about, and then it also seems like a good summer read. So I went ahead and asked the Snapchat AI robot, and here is the conversation. So as you can see, it ended up picking House in the Cerulean Sea, which I was actually kind of relieved about because I was hoping for this one, because this one's excitement has been here for months, so if it wasn't getting picked, it didn't matter too much, whereas this one was kind of like a dwindling interest. So it ended up picking this one, and then I ended up starting this one, and yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's going to be good. I think this is going to be very much out of my comfort zone, but I think it's going to be good nonetheless. I know it's well loved, and I'm really hoping that by the end of this, I'll be not only a fan of this book, but a fan of this author, because I do know that this author has a lot of other very popular books that I would love to pick up if I'm a fan of their writing. So I'm going to go continue this, and I'll keep you guys updated with how I'm feeling. So just here with a quick little update. I am about 29 pages into House of the Cerulean Sea, and I'm struggling quite a lot with it. I am interested in the story, but the writing style just is not my cup of tea, so that's where I'm really struggling with it, and it's just not been that fun to read for me. I did go ahead and put the audiobook on hold, but that's going to be another 4 weeks before I get it, so that's unfortunate. And I'm going to try and keep reading. I want to get to at least 50 to 100 pages in before I make any big decisions on if I continue or if I'm going to wait for the audiobook or anything. But right now, I am struggling and I am upset about it because obviously I don't want to struggle with it. But yeah, the writing style, I'm struggling with it. I prefer more easily digestible styles, and TJ Klune's style is not convoluted, but incredibly detailed to the point where I just don't see the point in half of the descriptions, but it's fine, it's whatever. Other than that though, I am really enjoying the main character. I think he's super sweet, so I'm really hoping that it picks up for me and I get through it, because I don't want to DNF it, I don't want to stop it, I'm just struggling with actually reading it. So I am officially 125 pages into this book. I am about at chapter 8, if you can even see that. And from my last update, the writing style, I've gotten used to it. It's still definitely not my favorite writing style, but it's gotten to a point where I'm not necessarily struggling with reading it at all. It's definitely just one of those books where I can't read it when I'm tired because my brain kind of needs to focus a little bit with this one. I am absolutely loving the characters. I fell in love with Linus basically in chapter 1. He is such a cute character and I love his personality. It's weird because he's 40 years old, but he reads more like a 70 or 8-year-old, like old British grandpa who's really sweet, but that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I am really enjoying him. I've met the kids, I've met Arthur. I really enjoy all of the characters so far, and it's been a really good read so far. Even though the writing style isn't my cup of tea, I can appreciate how it's written, I can enjoy it, and I'm very excited to not only finish this, but read his other books. My one main issue with his writing is sometimes it feels like a little bit too detailed. For example, when he's giving like street addresses of houses he walks by or something, I'm like, why did you do that? But you know, that's just the author's writing style, and that's okay. And like I said, I've grown used to it, and even though it's not my cup of tea, it doesn't really matter at this point because I still do enjoy it. It's just not a book that I can turn my brain off for, and I think especially coming off of 5 Frida McFaddens, it's very different. But this is the perfect fantasy book to pick up because after the whole Throne of Glass series debacle thing, which you guys should know about because the reading vlog should be out by now, it's just nice to pick up a very easy fantasy where there really isn't that much world building. It's easy to understand. The magic system isn't difficult. It's just because I wanted to read fantasy, but I didn't want to dive into another giant difficult world to learn. I wanted something simple and, for lack of a better word, not convoluted. So I do think that this was the perfect book to read, and I'm really enjoying it. My only complaint so far is that in terms of time, I don't really know when this is set, because like there's computers and electricity, but he speaks like he's from like the 50s, but then also he uses record players, but there's cars, and I'm just confused about when this is supposed to be set in. But then there's also like, this was written in 2020, I believe, or it was published in 2020, and there's terms like toxic masculinity, which I'm very certain is a very new term, like it's only a few years old. So I'm struggling a bit to place this story time-wise, but that's not like the biggest issue at all because it doesn't play too big of a role. It's just something that confuses me personally. But again, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think this is going to be very highly rated, and if the story keeps going how it's going, there is a very large chance that this might end up being a favorite of mine. And also, had no idea that this was a romance, so that's a really nice surprise. I just happened to be reading the blurb again one day, and I saw it says, "The House in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realizing that family is yours." Which, one, found family is such an amazing trope. I absolutely love it. And two, it's a love story, and I kind of think it's between Linus and Arthur, which makes me so happy. So that is the absolute nicest surprise, and I absolutely just cannot wait to continue reading this. Like, I'm truly like falling in love with this book, and I'm even falling in love with the writing style. So that's so much fun, because before, I think if you just read me like a paragraph in the middle of the book, I would not have wanted to pick it up. So the fact that I'm learning to love it is insane, and this is like truly a great experience. So I guess, at least for right now, thank you Snapchat AI for suggesting this book, but we'll have to see if Snapchat made the right choice at the end of this video, because obviously I'm only about 30% in right now, so there's still a lot left to happen. Oh, and the only other thing that's really annoying about this book is the chapters are incredibly long. Like, the halfway point is chapter 11, so that's not really the most fun, not liking that, but luckily most chapters do have a lot of breaks in between, so I can still stop in between chapters. And then also, I usually check how big chapters are either before I start or when I'm a couple chapters into it. So I've made peace with the fact that the chapters are long, so it doesn't bother me, but I don't know. Could have been nice if they were maybe a little shorter, but that's fine. I'm still liking it. So I will check in a little bit. So I have returned, and I have officially finished The House in the Cerulean Sea. I ended up finishing it yesterday, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It is officially one of my favorite books ever, and I'm just so happy that I read it. I'm actually going to Barnes & Noble tonight to try and find another TJ Klune book. Probably, I think it's The Whispering Under the Door or something along those lines. I don't know the title out of memory, but I absolutely loved his work. So The House in the Cerulean Sea ended up being so incredibly cute. The only unlikable characters were characters that we weren't supposed to like anyway, but everyone else was so likable. I loved them so much. I thought Linus was just the absolute cutest character ever. And honestly, I kept imagining this as like a Tom Hanks film, which I mean that as a compliment. So I really loved it. I thought Linus was so cute and sweet, and I loved his character growth. By the end of the book, it was so heartwarming. I definitely did shed a few tears, but it wasn't like a sobbing kind of book, which I'm happy about because I wasn't in the mood to sob. But I was really, really happy about the ending and how it ended, and like the descriptions of the island and the house and the children and everything were just perfect. And I truly don't have anything bad to say about this book. Speaking of the children though, they were so cute. Like, I mentioned this before in a different reading vlog. I'm not a fan of kids in books. I usually don't find them executed very well, and I kind of find them to be a little annoying because people rely on like the kids being the comedic relief, and it just like doesn't hit for me usually. These kids though, I loved them. They were so cute and so unique, and not just because they were different magical creatures. Personality wise, they were just so unique. The only issue I really had with them is that Chauncey's description didn't really help create an image in my mind. I kind of just imagined him as like a green blob the whole time, so there's that, but that's really not that big of a complaint in my personal opinion anyway. And I don't know, they were just so cute and adorable, and I love them, and I really enjoyed how like morbid they were because they're supposed to be like monsters, right? But they're not. So I really did like that they had some of those like more morbid, scary personality traits of like liking death and things like that, but they're still shown to be just like very good, full-hearted people at the end, despite them like being a little obsessed with like some weird things here or there, I guess. So I don't know, I just loved it. The romance was lovely. I don't know, I don't have anything to say other than I just genuinely loved every single aspect of this book. It was so well written in the sense that it was very peaceful, but enough was happening to the point where it wasn't boring, and there was some mystery aspects to like keep you intrigued and keep you questioning, but still the stakes were fairly low. Like the stakes were high in terms of the story itself, but the stakes were low in terms of like compared to other fantasy novels that aren't like cozy fantasies. But yeah, I really loved it. I loved every single character. Halfway through, I'd really regret not annotating it. So one night when I was really sad, I decided to like distract myself by going through and like skimming all 200 pages and annotating them. So it is annotated for the most part. The last 100-ish pages I kind of forgot about annotating because I just was like so sucked into the story. But yes, I loved it. I'm very excited to pick something else up by him. I think he's a wonderful writer. The writing style still definitely isn't something that I would necessarily pick up for myself regularly. It's not a writing style that I necessarily enjoy, but TJ Klune takes that writing style and executes it in such a way that I can enjoy it and that I do enjoy it, which that's always really fun when it's a trope or a genre or a writing style that you normally would never pick up, but then an author makes it likable for you. I always find that to be a very exhilarating experience for me, and this was definitely one of those. So I'm very excited. Might be coming home tonight with one of his other books, and it was just genuinely so much fun, and I'm so happy that Snapchat ended up picking this book, because actually going into it I wanted Snapchat to pick House in the Cerulean Sea rather than Dreams Lie Beneath, because the House in the Cerulean Sea before I read it was kind of a dwindling interest. Like it was just like a spike and I knew it was going to go away, whereas Dreams Lie Beneath, I've been interested in it for a month, so putting it off for another few weeks wasn't the biggest of deals. So I was really happy when Snapchat chose it, and it was a really great book, so I'm still very happy that Snapchat chose it. And honestly, it was kind of fun because I don't know, like I obviously ask my boyfriend for an opinion a lot of the time, but sometimes I feel annoying because it's just like, pick a book for me, pick a book for me, pick a book for me, you know? So I definitely do recommend using that tool, because one, you can just ask for book recommendations, be like, hey, can you give me a popular romance book or fantasy or like whatever? Or I think you could be like, oh, I like this book, can you recommend me a similar book? Or you can do what I did and just be like, which of these two books should I read? And then it kind of like does a little bit of the deciding for you, which is always fun. I mean, I'm a very indecisive person, so having that option is definitely a fun thing to have, and I do see myself doing this again just for my own sake, not for a video again, and just kind of like, I don't know what to read, so I'm just gonna ask this little Snapchat AI bot and go with whatever they say. Or sometimes you know what you want to read, because if they pick the wrong thing, you feel like disappointed or bad. So I don't know. I liked it. I'd recommend doing it. It was a fun experience. The book was great. And yeah, I would love to know if you have ever used any like weird ways like an AI bot to choose a book, or have you just gone the standard route of picking it yourself because you're not indecisive like I am. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like me or my videos, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.